Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 10-Minute Book Talk, where 4 best-selling authors talk all things bookish with you for 10 short and sweet minutes. And I am Rachel Linden. I'm joined by Julie Cantrell, Marie Bostwick, Katherine Reay, and today we get to chat with the lovely Kimberly Duffy about her new historical book, Every Word Unsaid. So we're really excited. Historical fiction. I think we all really enjoy historical fiction. I love Kim's writing. She is just she has beautiful prose, and she sets her books in India, which I've been to India, and I think it's such a fascinating setting for books. So we are really excited to talk with her. So I'll do the first question. Kim, what draws you to India? Why are you setting your stories? And you have 3 novels now. So, and all of them are set in India, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So why India?
India, I love writing about India because first of all, I mean, you know this, it's an easy place to write about in that the descriptive writing just kind of flows because it's so beautiful. And there's like just the color and the culture and the history and the languages. And there's just kind of this chaotic energy that makes it really easy to write. So that's one of the reasons why I love writing about India. Like I'm writing a book right now set in New York, and it's not nearly as easy to write descriptive passages because I'm like, well, and I'm from New York, I can say this, but it's just like, it's not as colorful. It's not as vibrant.
Got it.
Nice. Sometimes, Kimberly, characters can surprise us. In Every Word Unsaid, what is your who is your favorite character? Was it someone who came out of the woodwork or came out of that texture and completely blew your socks off, or someone you always expected had that within them? Like who did you love writing the most?
Yeah, I actually plot my books like within an inch of their life. So this doesn't happen very often. I'm not often surprised by characters, or because normally they're so well like figured out before I start writing the book that, you know, it's not very surprising. I know not a lot of people think that's very fun, but it's fun for me, right? To plan. But there was one character who I had not intended. I had no plan to put her in the book. She came out kind of as, I needed someone to contrast my character. So someone who, the heroine's name is Gussie. I needed someone just who suffered maybe in some way that the same way that Gussie did, but be a contrast to her reactions. And so I created a character named Bimla, who is a young widow. She was widowed as married and widowed as a child. And she suffered some of the abuse that Gussie did, maybe in a bigger way, but she suffered some of the same abuse and feelings of worthlessness, you know, and not knowing her place, but she responds in such a different way. She's a very gentle character. And so she's a good counterpoint to Gussie's kind of adventurous, impulsive nature. And I just fell in love with her. She's, I think, one of the sweetest characters I've ever written.
Oh, I love those surprises. I mean, that's wonderful.
I totally forgot to ask, give us a 1-minute synopsis. I got so excited that I totally forgot to ask about it. So give us a 1-minute synopsis of Every Word Unsaid.
Sure. So yeah, Julie has the book, which I think is my prettiest cover, but
beautiful.
But so Augusta Travers is kind of an early travel blogger. She's a photographer, so she travels with her handy Kodak folding camera, and it's a pocket camera. And this was when photography was really starting to be accessible to people, you know, like you didn't have to travel with a bunch of trunks full of equipment, right? So you could just travel with her camera. And she writes for a women's magazine under a pseudonym, so nobody knows who she is. She's from a wealthy family in New York, and her family does not approve of what she does. They're certain she's going to fall into scandal, which she does readily often. So there's a scandal, and they're going to send her away to her aunts in Chicago. And she's like, I'm not going to Chicago. I'm going to India. Like, I'm going to have this grand adventure. I'm going to really make my mark, you know, and women are going to want to read, you know, they're going to want to escape home and earth and read my articles and look at my pictures. And she lands in the middle of the Pune bubonic plague epidemic of 1897, which comes at the tail end of a famine. So India was really hurting at this time. And she kind of comes face to face with her values and the things that she thinks is actually important in life. And she makes friends with these widows. Pandita Ramabai Saraswati, who was a real kind of an early Indian feminist, is in the book. She's one of the side characters, and she meets her, and she kind of learns a lot about herself and her value and worth and what it is that she's supposed to do in this life. And there's some romance with an old friend who has grown up to be quite a lot more handsome than she expected.
That often happens.
Well, we love strong females, and we love handsome, unexpected old friends. So that sounds
He wears spectacles, so she calls him Specs, and he's a doctor.
I actually love that when you give them nicknames like that, Specs, and it just brings them to life. And I've started this book. I haven't had time to finish it yet, but it's on my holiday. Like when I take an exhale from work and I get to actually read for pleasure again, this is next to finish. But because usually I'll start a book and then I'll decide, okay, am I going to get through it? I just set it aside. Like I want to savor it. I just want to wait till the break and savor it. So I'm really looking forward to finishing it. I love her spunk and her sass. And I love books that that transport me to a different world and place and time that I can't possibly experience any other way. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be a treat for me. And I'm wondering, what's the one big takeaway you want readers to have when they close this book?
I want readers to recognize, and I think this is something common that people struggle with. We allow the things that are spoken over us in childhood to kind of follow us throughout life, and we internalize those things. And it can be, stuff that bullies have said, or even our family members, even people who love us, who maybe don't get us and don't understand like the direction we're taking. They don't understand our choices. And I know that I've internalized things that were spoken over me in my own life, and that's affected the choices I've made as an adult, and it's affected how I view myself. And so I want people to recognize that our value isn't based in those things that other people have said about us. It's not even based on the things that we've said about ourselves. We're valuable and worthy because of who we are and who we've been created to be, and because we're loved by a loving Father. So I want people to recognize that. I hope that people find freedom from those things, because words are painful. And we like to say, oh, words don't matter, sticks and stones, but they're painful, and they can bite, and they're sharp, and they can cut.
They can stick with us for so long until we, reclaim our truth. I think that's such an important message. And now I'm looking forward to reading it even more. Thank you.
I have to say, Kim, I am really looking forward to reading this. This is now like I'm writing things down. This is on my list now. So yeah, and what a beautiful cover. So I am curious. I mean, I haven't had the pleasure of reading this book yet, but I absolutely want to now. So I am curious though, what was your favorite part about writing this book? And what was the hardest part about writing this book?
So I would say my favorite part in writing the book is the hero, Gabriel, or Specs. He struggles with anxiety, which is something I've struggled with my entire life. I was diagnosed with OCD after my second child was born, but it's been a struggle since my first memories are of having like unwanted thoughts and kind of going in these cycles of like compulsive, episodes. And so I gave him a little bit of that anxiety. And I love giving my characters real struggles that people don't often see in fiction. I think sometimes life can be sanitized in fiction. And so I really like to give my characters real struggles. And a lot of the times it's struggles that I've dealt with, because I want to write things in an authentic way that feels real, and I get anxiety. So I wanted to give him something that people could relate to, and it's not really resolved at the end. Like he still struggles with anxiety. Like I'm never going to not struggle with it. And he's never going to not struggle. It's not like tied up in a nice, neat bow, like he still struggles with it, but he learns to live with it. And he learns not to make choices through that lens. So that was my favorite part. I think the hardest part of writing the book was, so I do a lot of research, and it was really hard to read about even now how widows are treated in India and how they have been historically. It's painful to think of these, hundreds of years of these women's lives just being, just so objectified and minimized, and they didn't have a place. And, there are stories you can even like go on YouTube and watch videos of interviews with widows today, and it's a hard thing. It's just an ugly part of life, and that type of thing always kind of settles in my heart, and it affects me, and so I tend to get a little bit like despondent, and my kids have to like pull me out, like, Mom, let's go to the park. And I'm like all like in my research, like weeping over this issue. But that was really hard. But I knew a little bit about it before. I know a whole lot more about it now. And I have some friends who work with widows in India. They're local pastors in India. And I'm just so grateful to them. I'm grateful that they see their value and worth.
You know what's beautiful about that? I don't mean to interject, but you're giving those people voice through your story that would never be seen or heard by so many people who happen to pick up your book and then see their value and their worth, through your lens, which I think is just the magic of story. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. So everybody pick up a copy of Every Word Unsaid.
One more time.
Thank you for joining us on the 10-Minute Book Talk, and tune in next week for more fun. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.